The checkered flag has waved after round 2 in the 2022 Formula One season. Super Max back on top, but not without a little controversy. Sergio Perez gives us a reminder of how cruel motorsport can be. The Ferraris of Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz remain red hot, pun intended, while Lewis Hamilton is nowhere to be found. This is the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix post-race analysis on Another Race Weekend, Canada's F1 show. And with that being said, as always, I'm joined by team manager for Pro Racing Ontario, Darryl Timmers.
Hello, hello. What a weekend, what a weekend.
Yes, it certainly was a weekend.
Yes.
Let's start right at the top. Turbulent weekend, to say the least.
Yeah.
There was a missile strike close to the track, deliberations between the FIA, Formula One. There was a driver team meeting, and a drivers only meeting that went for 4 hours. When you look at the setup of this track, you know, we watched what happened to Mick Schumacher last year. We watched what happened to him again this year. Prayers up to him. We hope he's back on track soon. But with everything going on in regards to, you know, the track itself, Saudi Arabia as a nation, and what Formula One really is trying to stand for with their end races and when we race as one campaign and all that stuff, it seems a little bit contradictory. So I guess the question is, should Formula One be even racing in Saudi Arabia?
Honestly, I think what Formula One's trying to do is bring attention to certain countries about what their, I guess, the way they run their country. You know, I think, yeah, it is a good way to get awareness to that country and kind of bring the spotlight on them to be like, hey, listen, we're bringing a lot of people here to go to your country. I think you should kind of change certain things, you know. With the missile strike, you know, it came down to a vote with the drivers and the teams and everyone, and obviously it was a long talk about what they should do and what they shouldn't do. And I think if all the teams weren't comfortable about being there, then they wouldn't have gone on with the race. If their teams unanimously said, you know, or unanimously said that they all wanted to leave or wanted to get out of there, then they definitely would have. I think at that point, you know, FIA and Formula One makes the decisions and allows the teams to have a voice, and I think that at that point the teams did have a voice and they ended up staying. But for F1 to be in Saudi Arabia, I think there's definitely pros and cons to it. There's definitely pros of bringing the attention about a country and how it's run, and the cons are, you know, we have to deal with stuff like this when we go to a racetrack. I also think, you know, it can be a country or a great race if they, you know, sort out the track a little bit more, and if the country is open to, you know, everyone going and helping bring awareness to certain things that need to change in that country. And, you know, I think it is a good thing for them to be there, but I think also we have to just, you know, tread lightly while we're there.
Now, speaking of the track and the circuit itself, it's a phenomenal circuit to watch as a viewer, but as a driver, like, you know, you're a former national champion, like to sit yourself in that position, and that is a minute and 25-ish, minute 24, for 50 laps of pure concentration, because if you slip up, it could end poorly.
Yes, and you saw with a little small mistake with Mick in qualifying, that was a hard hit. Like, that was straight to concrete, hard hit. And, you know, like you said, you have to stay you have to be concentrating the entire race, and you can't have a corner off on that track. The straightaway, yeah, it's a little bit long, you can kind of relax a little bit, but even then, most of the time you're under attack by someone. So yeah, it's a really cool track for the viewers, but for the drivers, it can be a little bit risky because, you know, there's so many blind corners that the FIA actually started putting screens in to try to get the drivers to be like, hey, around this blind corner, you can have a quick vision of what's going on the other side of that corner because it's so blind. So I think they do need to change some things about the track. The track is really racy. We had a great race on the weekend. There was a lot of passing. There was a lot of close racing, which is what we want in F1. But I think for the dangerous part of things and what happened with Mick, that was, you know, on any other track, I think, well, most other tracks, there's a little bit of a runoff that will slow the car down before you hit. But at that point, he was full speed still and hit the wall, and it was all concrete. And, you know, with a street circuit, they have to kind of pick and choose where they put the impact barriers because of how tight certain areas are. And that's one of the areas that it was a little bit tight. So when he went off there, it was a big hit.
Yeah, we definitely send prayers to Mick Schumacher and the Haas team. Definitely do not want to be seeing stuff like that in the sport, although it is part of the sport. Every single driver, every engineer, every mechanic, every team principal, they realize that that danger is there. But kudos to both the FIA and Formula One, because those cars are getting safer and safer by the day. Like a 33G impact. Yeah. We saw it last year with Verstappen, who had a 50+ G impact at Silverstone. And Grosjean is like the poster boy for safety in Formula One now. And all of these drivers were able to pretty much just get up and walk away, which is fantastic. Now, speaking of the racing, speaking of Supermax, Supermax is back on top. The question that I have for you is this. The Red Bull looks buttoned down.
Yes.
He was on rails the entire weekend. The straight line speed is incredible. Yeah. The question is this the beginning of the snowball? Should we expect to see 20 more wins from Max Verstappen?
I don't think so, just because Ferrari looks so strong. Perez is looking really strong now, too, as his teammate. He's actually a teammate that can push Max. He put it on pole. First pole ever, which is crazy to say.
Bravo, right? Checo!
I love it. I love it. It's like, for him to have his first pole ever this late in his career, and he's had such a great career. It's kind of cool to see that he's getting into the swing of things, that he's, Max has only ever been in the Red Bull. Perez has jumped around in a bunch of teams throughout his career, and for him to jump into a Red Bull, and now he's putting it on pole over Max. He honestly, without that VSC, I don't think anyone would have caught him. He was in control of that race at that point. And it's really cool to see Perez up there, but I don't think this is Max dominating yet. This is Max just, things kind of going his way. And, it came down to a couple of laps left when him and Leclerc were battling. So it's not like he was checking out or he got by Leclerc and checked out again. It was like they were right there. And in the end, Leclerc was coming back at him. So I think really and truly, this is just going to be a really gloves off battle, duke it out. Let's go for the championship.
I look forward to seeing more incidents.
Yeah, incidents.
You know what? It was a great race. It came down to maybe 3 laps where Mac had overtaken him. There was a fight before that last DRS zone a couple times, similar to that which we said last year between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. Yeah. I guess we definitively know what was going on there now, for sure.
The best is they're both locking up, trying to no, I'm not going.
That was incredible. So we're watching it. I think if it wasn't for that yellow flag in corner 1, I think that was, unfortunately, I think the run for Leclerc to actually try and make a move. And that could have been fireworks. But let's backtrack a little bit to Checo. Just a reminder of how cruel motorsport can be, because you're doing everything you can and you're trying to manage the race and you're listening to teams, listening to engineers, and it can all be taken away just like
that. Yeah, just that small little incident that might happen on the track that totally flips everything that you had. Kudos to Leclerc and the Ferrari team for calling that bluff and making them go in. I think, if he didn't go in, Leclerc would have been in the situation where he would have went in and he would have been kind of screwed by that safety car. So I honestly think at that point it's one lap difference of when you pulled in to an incident on the track, and there's no way that you can tell that incident's going to happen. And it's just our sport. It's what makes this, anything can happen. Anything can happen on one corner. That's all it takes, especially on a street course like that, where one small error of getting on the throttle a little bit early put the car on the wall, and that was it. Now the whole race has changed, and Lewis was able to capitalize on something like that. I wish they capitalized a little bit more later on in the race, but we'll leave that alone for now.
Actually, we're going to discuss that a little bit later, because for a second it looked like Lewis Hamilton was back to his old tricks again.
Exactly.
And then we'll discuss that a little bit later.
But it was great. It was great to see Checo up there, and I'm very, very happy to see that he's actually, put in blow for blow with Max. Max, I don't think, would have won that race if everything went well and there was no safety car or anything, or even if the safety car was 1 lap before that, Perez wouldn't have pit and everyone would have went in at the same time and changed their tires. And now Perez is back at the front in control of the race again and been able to take back off again. And, he had pace the entire weekend. That pole lap was incredible. It was almost perfect. And, for you to out-qualify both Ferraris and your teammate, it's kind of putting a stamp on why you're in that Red Bull seat.
Your world champion teammate.
Yes.
Because Max still is the world champion. A lot of commentary, in in regards to the regulation change and in regards to both Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez, everyone was shocked that Sergio put it on pole.
Yes.
He's had over 200 races, never even been close to sniffing a pole. All of a sudden, he comes out of nowhere, boops,
Yep.
on one of the most demanding circuits on the calendar. What do you make of the regulation change, maybe leveling the playing field in regards to development for Red Bull? As we know in the past, Max prefers a little bit looser rear-end car, something that's really sharp and gets into the corner really fast. And I don't think they've been able to create that for him as of right now. Not to say they won't.
Yeah.
But do you think that's playing into why Checo's being so close to Max initially?
I think so, because before, you know, they really catered to Max's car and developing the car for Max's driving style. You know, when you have a teammate like Albon, or, you know, where he can't really put the lap together with the same type of car because he's not as an aggressive driver. You know, Max really charges into the corner, so he needs a lot of front end to make that car turn. Where, you know, if you sacrifice a little bit more on entry, you can kind of float the car in and not have to depend on the front end so much. So, you know, with Checo, I think with the brand new car, they didn't really know exactly how this car was going to react or what they're setting it up for. So once the car became quick, they're like, okay, well, this is the setup now that's really fast, and it's kind of more of a neutral car. It's not so, you know, front end heavy, and Checo kind of likes the I don't want to call it understeer car, but it's more of a less of a front end, really stable rear, so you can, you know, really charge through the corner instead of into the corner. You know, once he gets the car rotated, he can depend on the rear planting and getting out of the corner, where Max is just, let's rotate the car, get it in, get it out. So I think, you know, it definitely caters to a little bit more of Checo right now. And to be honest, I don't think Red Bull would start going towards the Verstappen setup style until Verstappen is leading. You know, if Perez is in the championship hunt, they're not going to just cater to Max, because what happens if Max has a bunch of bad races and then Perez is the one that's leading? So I think right now the car is a little bit more neutral between both of them, and that's why you can see both the drivers competing with each other, and you know, kind of sitting neck and neck, as they say, going through the season so far.
It would have been interesting to see what would have happened if Checo indeed won that race.
Yeah.
Because then we're going to be looking at the golden boy of Red Bull behind on points to his teammates for the first time in his career at Red Bull, essentially. Like,
except maybe when he was
came over.
Yeah, with Ricardo, maybe.
So it would have been interesting to see. Now, moving forward, Nicholas Latifi.
Yeah.
This is Canada's F1 show. We're doing our best to speak about Canadians in a positive light. We're not going to fault him for crashing, because that's part of motorsport.
Yeah, it's hard.
He had an incident or accident, I should say, in qualifying. Came up into the race, just lost the rears, lit it up going into the concrete barrier. Not the question is, why is it happening? It's a new car. We don't really know. But the question I have is he going to be able to recover from all of these DNFs? Because it dates back since Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Right? You got a lot of hate, a lot of stuff thrown at him online. Now, first couple races of the year, he's been into the barricade a couple times.
Yeah.
How does a driver bounce back?
At this point, he's got to just kind of separate himself from social media, separate himself from everything that kind of it would be a negative thing around him. I think right now he just has to kind of do a reset mode. You know, everyone has had to do it. You know, last year Ricardo had to do it. It's not like it's something new. I think he just needs to realize that he is in F1 and that he's there to perform, and he's there to, you know, work with his team to develop the car, and whatever happens in the races is what happens in the races. He can't kind of get caught up in this whole media frenzy about, oh, look, he did it, he hit the wall, or look, he's in the wall, because, you know, Mick put it in the wall. No one's saying that. They just want to make sure he's okay. And, you know, everyone puts it into the wall every once in a while. Max did it last year going in on his pole lap that he would have had pole, and he put it into the wall. So it's not like everyone is perfect and he's making mistakes. It's just, I think, with all the media around him from last season, at the end of the season, I think everything's kind of, you know, looking over him a little bit more and kind of brought more attention to him. And, you know, I think in the end, he just needs to realize that, you know, he's there to do one job, drive that car, and don't worry about the media. And I think, you know, he can bounce back, but it all depends on how his mindset is going into each race, knowing that, you know, whatever happens, happens. Yeah, people are, you know, the memes are out saying that he's helping Red Bull again and all that stuff. But hey, no matter what you do, you're always going to have memes after you. You know, Max wins the championship. There's bad memes about it. There's, you know, there's the internet or social media about everything, positive, negative, neutral. So you just have to realize, you know, you're in the spotlight at that time. You're a professional that's being paid to race a car, and this is part of the scrutiny you're going to be under.
Going back to the memes, ask Chris Rock and Will Smith how they feel this morning.
I was gonna say, I didn't know if you were gonna bring it up or not, but wow.
Well, you know, it's an F1 podcast show, but
wow,
man, he smacked the hell out of him. To put it like Chris, he smacked the shit out of him. That was wild, man.
Yeah, that was wow. Will's got something going on, that's for sure.
Moving forward, and you know what sucks, because he loves F1. Will
Yeah,
Smith.
exactly.
Like,
he's at all the races.
Had he missed out on the Oscars and he just went to Saudi,
yeah,
he would have been all right.
Yeah, I know. Wow. Yeah.
Let's move over. We're talking Will Smith. He's always, you know, connected with Mercedes in some fashion or form. Whenever he's at the racetrack checking out a Grand Prix, and now we're gonna discuss. Let's do George Russell first.
Okay.
Let's do George Russell first, because I feel like Lewis Hamilton's a bit of a deeper dive.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. I honestly, with Russell, I just think he's relaxed. There's no pressure on him. There's really no pressure on him. He can just go into every weekend, and if you finish second to Hamilton, hey, cool, you finished second to Hamilton. If you beat Hamilton, it's like, wow, you beat Hamilton. Like there's no real pressure on him at this point. There's just him racing, him driving. Like he just wants to go out there, compete, do whatever he needs to do. And I think right now he's so relaxed and just kind of getting at one with the car that's why you're seeing such a strong performance from him, because there isn't any, you know, pressure to perform at the, you know, you have to win this race. It's like, yeah, there's a chance that you have to win this race, but as long as you're with Lewis at this point, there's no other ask for him.
Yeah, I mean, after the first round, he was, you know, immediately behind Lewis. Now he finishes 5 spots in front of Lewis. The thing that's interesting in regards to George Russell and Mercedes in particular is I kind of just feel like it just shows you how bad that Williams car is.
Yeah.
Because even though we're looking at Mercedes and we're saying this car is terrible, but it's only terrible for Mercedes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So even if it's a terrible drive,
yeah, if
you're coming from something that literally is just neck, shoulders, feet, elbows below what you're in now, it might be easier to look like a faster driver, whereas Lewis is used to having that weapon.
Yes.
He's used to being in that front car.
Yep.
And now that it's not, we're seeing him struggle a little bit.
Yep.
So, I think it's finally time we have the discussion here on the show. Lewis Hamilton, greatest driver of all time or all machinery?
No, he's definitely one of the greatest drivers of all time. You can't take that from him because he's won championships with cars that were not the best. You know, if you look back at the dominance that they've had, yes, Mercedes had a great car and you have a great driver in the car, so it's going to be very hard to beat that guy. You can see it when his teammates were in the exact same car as him and they weren't finishing second in the championship sometimes. They weren't winning races throughout the year. They were battling with the second and third constructor. So you can see that you can't take that from him, that he is one of the best drivers of all time, because there's races that he should not have won and he still did. Right now, they're struggling to suit the car to him. I think, like I said, there's no pressure on Russell. Everyone's looking at Lewis to perform, and he's trying a million different things that's not working at this point. And I think a big part of it is, you know, he's so dominant in one car that everyone doesn't see this side of him, or has never seen this side of him, and they're all thinking, holy crap, what's going on here?
He's never seen a side of himself. He was on a race monitor with Bono, his engineer, asking if there's a point for P10.
Yeah, for P10. He's like, isn't he even points back here? So it's one of those things that, you know, he's hasn't been in this situation in a very long time. And, you know, yes, they've developed a car before to make it that much better later on in the season, but they've always been at the you know, kind of the top end of the
tier,
chart. Yeah. So when you have a situation like this where the world champ, well, one of the world, like a past world champion, I should say, because Max is the world champion, but a past world champion struggling a little bit. Before this, when Red Bull was trying to catch Mercedes or Ferrari was trying to catch Mercedes, no one said Leclerc was a bad driver. No one said Sainz is a bad driver. No one said Max was a bad driver. It's just bad cars. At this point, the Mercedes are struggling. Everyone knows it. The power unit, something's going on, I think, because even in qualifying, they weren't even in the top 10.
He didn't make it out of Q1, and that's the first time Lewis Hamilton on sheer pace alone.
Yeah,
barring anything else.
I think it was like 2015 or
well, that was 2017 with something else happening.
When he crashed at Brazil.
But legit, just on pace, it was like 2009, which is his second or third season in the sport, right?
Exactly. So, you know, when
unfamiliar territory to say the least.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, all these people are like, see, he doesn't have the best car and he doesn't dominate. Well, when Max didn't have the best car, he didn't win. So,
well, this is the thing, right? We said it last week. There's a reason Lewis Hamilton makes the big bucks, and it's because Bahrain Grand Prix opening, he didn't have the car to be on the podium, and it was there.
Yeah.
And let's be clear for 1 second here. In the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, we saw him and Magnussen start on the hards. Everybody went medium. He was complaining early he didn't have any grip, but then when that virtual safety car came around, he was in a rhythm. The tires were working for him. He had a stride. He was in the points. I think he was like P7.
Yeah, he was.
And the one mistake that I think Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton made this weekend was worrying about if that pit lane was closed or open in regards to both Ricciardo and Alonso. If they just pulled him in right there, he gets a 12-second cheap stop, and he comes out P7, P8. And he could still maybe even get some overtaking done depending on how the restart goes, right? But I guess it's just a stroke of luck, I should say, because last week we saw the stroke of luck go his way. This week, it still finishes in the points. I mean, it's the second race of the Grand Prix, but as you were just saying, name me one champion that didn't win without the best car. Champion. You can win a race without the best car. One champion that didn't win without.
No, it's true. It's very hard to compete at this level and win the championship with, you know, a car that is maybe at best right now, third best, fourth best. And, you know, you can't take it from him that he is wheeling that thing because he's still getting points in that. That's the dangerous part right now that everyone's got to realize. He's still getting points in this, and everyone thinks his car is the worst car on the grid. Like, the fact that he's still fifth in the points championship is scary, or fifth or sixth in the points championship is scary, because if they sort that car out, he's still in the championship hunt. Like, this is the part that gets me, is like, everyone look at him, he's struggling and he's not finishing. Yeah, just because he's not winning, but he's still making it work. He's still scored points in 2 races that everyone thought they were going to be out of the points. It's scary. Like, he's not out of this at all. Like, one bad race by Leclerc and Verstappen and he wins that race. There you go. He's right back in the championship hunt again.
And he had the most overtakes this weekend.
Exactly. So you know, you can't say that he's, you know.
You never count Lewis out. And Lewis is very dangerous with his back against the wall, as we saw last year in Brazil. Even in Abu Dhabi. Like, he, you know, I can't take him out of the fight just yet.
No, you can't.
I can't take Mercedes out of the fight just yet as a constructor, even though Alpine is looking very, very strong at the moment.
Yes.
They're like the dark horse of this whole thing right now. They had a great race this weekend. Tough luck for Alonso, but between the two of them, they were going back and forth. The team principals were letting them race. Like,
which
was
awesome.
Good, solid racing entertainment for the fans. Are they looking like the favorite at the moment for P3 over Mercedes, McLaren?
Yeah, honestly, I would say yes, because they're just been consistently under the radar. They've always been there. This weekend showed that they had the pace. They were faster than the Haas cars, and the Haas was faster than the Mercedes. So really and truly, I think they can battle for third place right now in the constructor championship, and that would be huge for the team, just to get the morals up. They're showing that, you know, we have a car that we developed in this new era that is competing with the at least top 3. So, you know, and give it 1-2 years where they can get more development into these new regulations. All of a sudden, these lower, the backmarker teams, not backmarker, but middle field teams are going to start jumping up to the top. And now we're not going to be we're going to start going into weekends not being like, okay, well, this weekend it's going to be a Ferrari or a Red Bull. We're going to start going into weekends being like, I don't know who's going to win this weekend now.
Right.
Because all it takes is for one of those crazy weekends where the start of the race something happens and, you know, 2 of the Red Bulls or one of the Red Bull and one of the Ferraris make contact and they're out, and then all of a sudden the Alpine's right there. I think they're strong enough to finish in the top 5 for sure. I think they can definitely get into the podium positions if stuff, you know, kind of falls their way with kind of what happened, say if they were in the position of Ferrari this year or what Max did with the VSC. You know, if they're in that position, they can capitalize on stuff like that, and they're no slouch to be leading to control a race. Like, it's not like they're getting blown away. It's if they're the lead car, I really do think that they can control the race. It's just they have to get in front of the race to do that. And to do that, they have to have the raw pace in qualifying, which I don't think they have right now, but they're not too far off because they're still in the top 10. And I really do think that they're a team that can surprise everyone on one of the weekends where they nail the setup and they're actually really quick, because they've done it a couple times last year where they were really fast in qualifying and put it in the top 5. I think if they can do that and really nail the setup, be on pace with the top guys, and you never know, they might start in the top 3, and if they can get a good start, they can start controlling the races.
It would be nice to see, guys like Fernando Alonso, not Orlando. Fernando Alonso, who's got great lineage in the sport, making his way back, and he came back to fight for wins.
Yes.
It looks like they're providing him a tool that maybe right now is maybe one step behind Ferrari and Red Bull, but like you said, it doesn't take much to be able to capitalize. Max and Charles or Checo and Sainz fighting for position, they get tangled up.
Yep.
And those guys are right there to pick it up. And I think Ocon is definitely, he's definitely ripe for the picking. He's one of those young savages that we always discuss, and they're just waiting on the sidelines for their opportunity.
Exactly.
They're just begging the teams to give me the right piece of equipment, give me the right piece of machinery, and I guarantee you I can produce some results. He won a race last year, so yeah, I definitely see some things happening for Alpine. Moving on, final point, final segment of the show. Overwhelmed, underwhelmed, and surprised. Lay it on me.
So the surprise, I'm gonna say the Alpines, like I like Alonso and Ocon, period. Like those guys surprised the heck out of me. I didn't expect them to be, they qualified well, but I didn't expect them to have the race pace to stay there. I thought they were gonna be, kind of slowly dropping back, but they would battle it out a little bit, and then all of a sudden they would be like, no, okay, let's stop battling, pull away from this group, and then okay, start battling again.
It was great to see. It was really cool, like watching a kart race.
Yeah,
man.
it was
great.
It was. It's really cool to see that the team allowed them to start, battling, knowing that they, I trust them enough that they're not going to take each other out, and if they need to, they'll stop battling to pull away from the field again. They let the Magnussen kind of catch back up once in a while, and then they would pull away from him and then catch back up around. Same with Bottas. So I think they surprised the heck out of me from this weekend. The overwhelming, I have to say Perez, because I was so happy for him. The only thing, I just wish he was able to finish it off. It was great to see that lap that he did in qualifying. Like when I was cheering, I like Checo, I love Red Bull, all that stuff, but it's not like he's like my guy. Yeah. And I was loving it. Like I was cheering when he got pole. I was working in the shop and I was like, yeah, holy cow! Like I can't believe he did that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just unbelievable. Yeah. But then when you watch the feed and you look at him in the car, you're like, no, I can see how he was just in the zone. And like he said, he could do 1,000 laps and he'll never be able to reproduce that lap again.
No. So the underwhelming, I gotta say Lewis, like I thought at least he would charge through the field a little bit, and really and truly the only reason he was where he was in the top 10 was because of a bunch of safety cars and yellow flags, and kind of everything fell into his path. But they got to sort that thing out. Like that, it just looks slow, and they've got to sort that out.
Here's the question: how much grace period do they have to sort it out? We're 2 races in, and we're looking at Red Bull, Ferrari. Nothing short of dominance from those 2 teams. Yeah. Everybody else is finishing, 20, 30 seconds back. How long do they have before they have to put their cards on the table and be like, okay, this is it?
They have a very little break, like a small break right now before Australia, just like 2 weeks or whatever. So 2 weeks throughout the week. So 1 week, and then they got to start going to Australia. So I honestly think that they have maybe 2-3 races left. If they keep finishing in the points, they have maybe 2-3 races left. If they start not, putting these races together and not finishing the points, they have to figure this thing out in Australia. They need to figure out the straight line speed, because that thing is dogged down the straightaway. It's like they're over engineering the car, and they're trying so many different things to try to make that thing work, and it's just not working. So they need to sort it out really, really, really quick, because at this point they're still in the hunt. But 2 more races like this where they're, finishing 15, 20 points back from the leaders is going to be a hard sell to get the championship later on.
Well, the 2022 regulations are in full swing. I would say so far they're delivering. They've mixed the field up. We're no longer talking about Max and Lewis.
No.
We're talking about 3, 4, 6, 7 guys. We didn't even have a moment to discuss Magnussen with the Haas back in the points again, even though he can barely hold his neck up. Like, it is a crazy, crazy season thus far. We definitely look forward to bringing you more episodes. Forgot to say this off the top, but you can always watch us on YouTube. We stream on Tuesdays after every single race weekend, and Mondays is when the audio version goes live. So if you're looking to take us on the go, you can stream the podcast, any podcast distributor you have, whether that be iHeartRadio, whether that be Apple, whether that be Spotify, whatever it is, we are streaming on there. You just have to search Another Race Weekend. For Darryl Timmers, I'm Dames Nellas, and we will see you after the Australian Grand Prix.